Welcome to the New Hope Podcast, where real Christians have real conversations. Join us this June as we break the silence and put men's health front and center. The New Hope Podcast premieres this Sunday on our YouTube channel, New Hope Cathedral.
I'm Elder Tyrus Guilford.
I'm taking Horace Thomas. Dang it. I was taking off
You
my glasses.
messed up.
I was
Worry
taking
about
off
me.
my glasses.
I'm Elder Tyrus Guilford.
I'm Deacon Horace Solomon.
And I'm Kelvin Leaphart. And this is the New Hope Podcast.
Boom! There it is.
There we go.
Well, Kelvin, thank you so much for joining us today on the New Hope Podcast. And today, this month is all about health, men's health specifically. So we talk about not just men's physical health, the emotional, the spiritual, everything in between. For you, what are your thoughts on the importance of taking this month seriously for men? We mentioned on some other podcasts about black men not being able to really, for some reason, being reluctant to go to the hospital, get tested, get checked. Your thoughts on that? Why are we as a community not really getting in there and getting in the hospital?
I think probably because a lot of men probably don't have health insurance. So I know that there's a lack of health insurance in the black community. But I have 2 physicals a year, and I still don't do what I'm supposed to do. So I guess, it's just getting dedicated to your health. You know what I'm saying? Have that health scare, or not even to have the health scare, but have something that really pushes you, because me, it's like back and forth. I can go, I'll do a 40-day fast and lose weight, but then football season comes and the chicken wings and everything comes back. So it's like,
That's a fair assessment.
Just being dedicated. You just really have to be dedicated. And then my family, everybody cooks, so it's always good food around. I'm battling that all the time. I have in my mind, I'm gonna do it this month. I'm starting this week, and then I start at the beginning of the week, but then there's 10 functions and everything's off.
But you bring up a really interesting point in terms of the food that we consume. And I'm not gonna lie to you, if I was at y'all's house every day, I'd be 3,000 pounds.
If I could be there every weekend, I ain't gotta be every day. I heard about some fried salmon.
But what talk about our relationship with food, black people's relationship with food, and how we kind of handle that. And then, like you said, the challenges that come with being from a family that cooks taste-wise really great food, but then also trying to be disciplined in terms of your eating habits and your health habits.
I mean, it's a challenge because that we are consumers of a lot of different types of food. We have a palate in our family. We like all types of food, but most of them tend to have carbs. They tend to have high in fat. So it's kind of hard to really stay away from that stuff. So when I cook, I try to do more baking, crock pot cooking, whatever. But then when we get functions, it seems like every time we have a function, it has to be fried, desserts, and we'll bring salad, but the salad rarely gets ate, So I think as black people, we just like, as our community, we just like to eat. And I came up with a grandma that cooked on both sides. Both my grandmas cooked, my mom cooked, my dad cooked. So being that everybody cooks, we never lacked having food.
So would you say that, because I understand from a big family, I understand guys like to cook, would you say that it's more challenging to find someone who can't cook in the family? Or is it, because I know most of them, and it's like, it's like most of you looking at it like, this one can cook, you can bake a cake over here and get this from here. So for me, it would be perfect. Going back to my other story, it would be hard for me to not eat the desserts, because it's like, I see brownies every Sunday sometimes, and it's just like, man, them things look so delicious, but have to stay away from them.
Yeah, well, ever since Pops got on this pound cake and brownie kick, it's been very hard, because there's always pound cake and brownie around. And he's making 4 or 5 at a time. There'll always be one for the house, so, and I'll go and say I'm not going to have a piece, I'm just going to get a little piece. 1 piece turns into 2 pieces, 2 turns, So yeah, it's in our dynamic in our family, food is, I think, the biggest thing with all of us is we like to eat. And then everybody pretty much in the family, even the wives, can cook. So Tiffany does pretty good. But,
Okay.
you know, but everybody can cook something. But I think for us, it's more just, we're disciplined in a lot of areas but that area. So I could be disciplined in church, I could be disciplined in my job, I could be disciplined in so many things, but when it comes to food, I lack discipline. And I'm not like a very obese big eater, but what I have, I don't eat enough to get it off. But I don't really think I eat that much a day, but I've never really tracked it. But I'm usually like, I'll go to work, have coffee, eat my fruit, and then I'll have one meal when I get home. But I think being that I have this sciatic issue, I think that keeps me from moving, because I used to walk like 4 miles, but now I can't do that because my back locks up because of the sciatic, and that probably has something to do with food and inflammation in the body as well.
And now, Men's Health Month isn't just about the physical aspect of it, but also the mental aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking earlier off camera about your experience in the military and what that was like. Touch on that for a little bit, and your opinion. I know that there's a big stigma when it comes to military and mental health. You know, why do you think that that's such an issue as well?
Well, I guess because, you know, as a community, we're not really into getting counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, sometimes you can think that you can work your problems out yourself, but it's always good to give an ear to somebody else that doesn't know your situation or anything about you, and hear the advice that they can give you on what's going on. Like, I know I've only been to counseling maybe once in my life, and that was like when I got out of the military. They do an in counseling just to see how, you know, how you're adjusting or what are your plans for when you're getting out. But I've always been pretty well adjusted, because being that I grew up in the military, so we had to adjust to our emotions all the time, because we moved, you know, we had friends, lost friends, and, you know, we moved. So it was kind of easier growing up as an adult to know how to deal with your emotions and you know, that. So I really never had a problem with that, because I did a lot of that when I was young, and I knew how to adapt to that situation. Learning that, you know, just because the situation changes doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have to dwell on it. And then I don't let my situation affect me. I affect my situations.
So now, even with that, because I've known you for a few years now, and knowing the person that you are, have you ever thought about like counseling some of those guys that are coming that need that transition help as well? Because to me, you do great, even in sitting down just having conversations with you. You talk very well about how to make that adjustment, how knowing that there's a lot of different things going on. There's some challenges that I may be going through, but then to sit down and hear from sit down and talk with you, it's like, oh, well, hey, have you thought about doing this? Have you looked at it from that perspective?
Well, I haven't thought about that as a like career choice or like a full time, but I mean, I do a lot of counseling just in general, talking with people. Like, people tend to gravitate towards me when it comes to conversations. And like me and my wife, when we were at the other church, we did do couples counseling. So it's like things that we have done that we know how to pretty much, I get more of my skill from counseling from my wife, because she's one of the ones that listens and she hears, and like me, sometimes I'll speak before I should speak. But during the counseling, you have to really just be able to listen to the people, hear what they're saying, and don't put your opinion in what they're saying. Because to everybody, whatever my situation is, it's only going to be for me. Right. So you can't tell me how my situation affects me. Now you can give me advice and tell me how to deal with it, but it's still going to affect me how it affects me.
So now, speaking of advice, you mentioned your wife, and I'm sure she's been a great helpmeet for you. Your thoughts on that in terms of, because I know, again, we're going through stigmas and things like that, and I think in society a lot of men have gone to the place where they don't think that marriage is important, or that they rather stay single and things like that. You see that coming up a lot on social media and in society in general. Your thoughts on marriage and what that does for your mental as well, what that does for, because I know for my wife, I would have gone to get checked out, drink water, like the basic human needs. I would have just been, but with my helpmeet, she helps me do some of those things and motivates me and pushes me to do some of those things. So your thoughts on that, and just the stigma of why men in today's society feel like they don't need to get married, and then what's the experience been like for you?
Well, I guess it's what they see in today's culture. They're pushing that issue. The black man out of the household, single mothers, I could do this, I want to be independent. But God didn't create us to be independent. He created us to be dependent on one another. And it's just society. There's a lot of stuff out there that's not geared towards the black community. Everything is housewives. It's this, it's that, side chicks, everything. So this is the things that are promoted to us. So as the young people coming up, and a lot of the young people are raising young people.
Yeah.
So what they're seeing and what they're doing is they're just emulating what they're seeing put out there. And then with as far as the relationship wise, I think it's good to have a strong relationship with a person that, because like me and my wife are opposite. So she grounds me and I ground her. When she goes high, I go lower. So we balance each other out. And like for me, I'm the one that gets my checkup. She's the one, because she's a nurse, that you always gotta talk. Hey, you need to get checked. I'm okay. So it's not just the men, There's women now. Them nurses now. You gotta stay on them. She won't go. I'm okay. She wanna take care of me and tell me what I have to do. But when it's up her, I'm good. So.
So the nurse is not the good patient.
No, they're terrible patients. Terrible patients. Terrible patients. But yeah, it's good. I mean, I think people that are against marriage haven't had a solid relationship.
That's
and a lot of them are like with me. With my first marriage, I was in the military, so that was just to get that extra BAQ and VHA, the extra money you get. You know what I'm saying? Really, we was kicking it, so we was like, hey, we might as well get the extra money. So that was that. But when you get into a solid relationship, then you can see how you balance off of each other. You know what I'm saying? And then I think when you're coming into a relationship, making sure you're unified in the beginning. So when we started, I gave her all my baggage. So when we started a relationship, I told her, this is me. And then she was like, this is her. And then we decided on then, okay, we're going to do this. But you have to put everything on the table. You can't leave any stone unturned. You know what I'm saying? It was like, hey, this is me. I got this. I mean, if you could deal with it, then I'm willing.
And then, Tyrus, I'm sorry, I was going to ask you a question as well.
Go ahead.
You've got a son, very successful, doing well. How do you have those conversations in terms of, I guess, the importance of marriage and what to look for? Because I think a lot of times as men, we tell our young sons or boys what to do, but at least for me, I wasn't really told what I should be receiving or what I should be necessarily looking for. It was always, you treat a woman like this, you do this. And so I'm curious, do you have those types of conversations, or how does that
We've actually had those conversations a lot more recently since he's gotten older and is more on his own, and he's out literally experiencing the world. And it has been some very interesting conversations to say that, I'm like, hey, what, are you trying to tell me something? And he's like, no, I'm just asking these questions of how do you know when she's the one? How do you know that it's the right one? And then it's kind of going back to Calvin's point. You get to the point where, can I be my true self with this person? Can I be the person that behind closed doors nobody else sees, and I can trust that it's going to stay behind these closed doors? And those are the types of things the discussions that we have of being able to know that that's a solid person before you open up, before you lay all this stuff out here, because I made mistakes in my past of saying I'm gonna open up, and sometimes it's to the wrong person. Sometimes you open up too soon, and it's like you can scare people off because you got so much of the real of who you are. Because even being a minister, sometimes you just get to the point of where there's a lot that you're carrying. There's a lot and it's like, okay, before I can get to this point, I got to go over here and take all this off first. And sometimes it's like, I just need to download to, if you're here, and God has blessed me now to be able to say I have a person that, as Calvin was saying, that keeps me grounded. That I can say, here, let me unload, let me find, and that's what I tried to instill into my son. You got to find that person first. I'm not hope to help him avoid some of the mistakes that I made. Find that person first.
And I think that was my issue before I got married, was not being able to I was doing the right things but for the wrong persons or wrong people.
Yes.
And that set me back so far, because then you got the whole trust issues that come in, and then all those things that come with that. And so it's always often difficult when I was going through that. I was like, man, no one really taught me how to or what to look for. I've always been taught on what to give, but no one's ever really taught me on what to truly perceive or what to really get from or get out of a relationship as a man. I'm always, you know, the breadwinner, you know, got to be the protector, got all these to-do lists and tasks. But then when I look at the list of, okay, well, here's what you get, I'm like, oh, I don't see that. And I think that, and when we talk about society, I think that's a part of the problem in terms of the conversation, is that we don't really, as men, we don't discuss what we receive from our relationship or from a unified marriage. And so I say all the time, I'm with my best friend. We're having the time of our lives, and we're also, the tough times, I'm going through that with my best friend as well. So the tough times aren't as bad as they would be had I was going with it with just, you know, just somebody else or somebody random. And so I think that we should be more open and honest. When it seems like the people that are having tough times in their relationship, like we were mentioning earlier, they're the ones that are the most loudest. They're the ones that stay single and you know, do this, don't trust anybody, and they're the ones that are happy, they're quiet, and they're, you know, it's like, no, we need to talk about it more. We need to open up about it more, because that, and again, it's Men's Health Month. I think a healthy relationship plays a big part in all of those things, which are spiritual, your mental, your emotional, your physical. All those things play a really important role if you're with the right person. And if you're with the wrong person, all those things go. And I've experienced it. I'm sure we all have. Like, if you're with the wrong person, all those things can go left real fast.
That's the foundation, and that's the biggest part that we seem to not talk about a lot. Is building that proper foundation. You know, the Bible talks about it. You know, you got to be built on the right foundation, and that's, you know, it's amazing to me to still sit back and listen to. We all had the same type of experience. That you get to a point where, hey, I've tried this. I've been throwing a lot of what I think is the good stuff, what I was taught is the right stuff to do in a relationship. But then I'm like you. Well, what do I get out of it? You know, that seems to be the question, and it's to the point where we have to see, well, let me build this proper foundation for this person. Let me make sure that we're walking and we're on the same page. You know, that I can see that, oh, well, where I need to be weak, I can be, because this person got me covered. And I don't have to worry about, oh, well, she's going to come back, oh, you're a weak man because of this. No, she's covering this side, but when she's weak in an area, I'm covering her. And that's the part that we have to have that foundation. So.
And I think Bishop touches on it oftentimes when he mentions about what men should receive, which is the respect aspect of, they want to be honored and respected, and women want to be loved. And I think being with my wife, that was like, when we were first dating as well, that was the first time that I had a woman say, I'm sorry, within the first 5 minutes of us having a conversation or having a disagreement. Like, for 5 minutes we're having a disagreement, she's like, you know what, that's my bad, I'm sorry. And I was like, I don't know what to do for you. I haven't been trained on what to do. I was like, all right, okay. Like, I'm used to it dragging out and then or never even hearing it.
Right.
Never. And I think again that's another thing that men don't talk about a lot, is that we sit in some relationships that aren't healthy for us, but because we haven't been taught what a healthy relationship looks like, or what to receive, or what honor for a man really looks like, and not just the I'm the man of the house type of thing, but it's really truly someone honoring you and honoring the position of you being the man of the house. What comes with that? Yes. And then so I think a lot of times we'll put up with a lot of stuff. We'll be quiet, or we won't say anything, and then that goes into the whole that mental health aspect, and now we're shelling up, and we're by ourselves in a relationship. We're single while we're in a relationship. We're single while we're married. Right. It's just, you know, it's one of those cycles, and I'm hoping that this podcast and someone listens to it, that this helps to break that cycle of toxicity, and knowing that yes, you can be married, yes, you can be happily married, and you can get all the things that you want to receive out of a positive relationship, and it doesn't always have to be just this cycle of toxic and yelling like the Real Housewives of Atlanta type of thing. Like, no, you can do all that without the extra foolishness.
Yes. But why is that more popular? Because it seems as though that would be a more popular show, that you get to see the fighting and the screaming and the backbiting, the people who are supposed to be housewives, but you're divorced, so you're not a wife at all.
True.
you're an ex-housewife. How about that? We don't have those.
They don't
types
have
of
a
shows.
good ring to it. Ex-Housewives of Atlanta. That don't sound as spicy.
We don't have the shows where somebody's sitting down saying, "Hey, this is what you should be looking for.
Yeah.
This is how you should be building, the relationships."
I think they might have those shows, but it's just that people don't want to watch those shows.
Well,
There's good shows out there, but people just tend to go to the raunchy, the stuff that stimulates you for a quick minute. That's what people go to, and they just don't have accountability. So those are easy to get to. Every show you think about it that's geared towards us is either the sisters that have a whole bunch of problems going on. You have the housewives, whole bunch of problems going on. So any show that's geared to us is going to be problems, or it has to be extra. It can't just be a natural show. They always want us to put that extra oomph in there to gear towards the audience, so you get the ratings. So it's also a rating booster.
Yeah. And I think we had to train our brains to get away from that, because I know I hate shows like that. She shows me all the time these couples that do these skits and they're always yelling at each other. I'm like, turn that. I don't want to hear that. I don't like when couples get on social media and their niche is we yelling, we fussing, it's not fun, it's not entertaining to me. I don't enjoy it. Show me a travel video, a couple they experience in the world, and they enjoying themselves. I like to personally watch that, but I think in terms of we just have to retrain our brains as a community, and then put out more positive, because I think there's a difference between certain type of shows in terms of drama, because it's always about content.
Yes.
I'm a big content guy. So content, good or bad, can be entertaining.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how we're putting it and how we're packaging it and how we're producing it. But good content can be entertaining as well. You just gotta, like you said, you just kind of look for it.
New whole podcast.
Yeah, hey, new whole podcast.
Good content.
Good quality content. Watch it with your whole family. Good quality content. And so with that being said, we always have the New Hope podcast. We give final thoughts on what we talked about in this episode. We'll start with Elder Tyrus, because he's the Buffets here, so I don't want no problems. I don't want no beef. So we'll start with him, and we'll go down the line. Final thoughts for this episode of the New Hope podcast.
I think it was a great discussion. We had an opportunity to be able to sit and to cover a lot of topics, and I do want to say publicly while we're here on air, I appreciate you, your brothers and sister, because of the fact that you guys share your father with us, and I love him dearly. I'm I call him Pops too, and it's the fact that he will stop and make sure he'll say, "Son, I didn't give him a hug today." Mm-hmm. I mean, he and I was like, "Sir, I'm so sorry. It won't happen again." And that one scolding, he's never missed another hug. But the fact that I appreciate you guys, but I see the respect that you give him, and that teaches me a lot. And I see how the things that even sitting here having this conversation with you that you've been raised up on, and I just appreciate it so much. So in seeing the discussions and understand, I just thank God for the family as a whole, because it's like everybody came. Everybody seems to be so loving. I ain't gonna say seem to be. Everybody is so loving. They'll hug you in a second. You know your brother. Hey, tell me, you telling me, hey, let me give you a hug right quick.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying, but it's a great thing, and I love it. I love the whole atmosphere, and I just thank God for you guys. I thank God for your candor and being, transparent about how, we deal with some of the issues that we do have as men. So, but that's my final thoughts. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Final thoughts would be, thank y'all for having me on this podcast. It's very informative. I think it's something that we need in our communities. It's something that people need to see, get into real life situations, and talking about stuff that really matters, stuff that's going to help us in our lifetime. So I just thank y'all for doing this podcast, and I'm gonna try to do better on that men's health thing, and maybe I'll get on call and do little push-ups and stuff. But yeah, I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. But I know, like me and Tip been talking, it's time to really get serious about your health, because we got number 10 grandkid on the way. So definitely we got to be there. So, and I just miss being able to walk and do the stuff that I used to do. So I start my therapy for the sciatica. So hopefully I can get back on track and be more active and, do the things I want to do. Oh, we will. God gonna take care of you. I'm his guy, so we go way back. We go way back. So yeah, I'm sure that I'll get it right. It's just me holding myself accountable and doing what I say I'm gonna do.
And I think my final thoughts are, and you touched on it. just about the importance of having these conversations. The last episode, that was a big, they don't know, that was a big eye opener for me. Like, man, I really got to take this stuff seriously,
Right.
you know, because your life's on the line, and it truly is. And like we said earlier, not just a physical thing; it's a mental, all of it. You have to take all the aspects of life seriously because God has blessed us with life, and we want to be good stewards while we're here on the earth, and with everything, and especially with the body that He's given us, the vessel that He's given us, because we use this vessel to do ministry, you know, and we minister to one another as well. So I think that this podcast hopefully is going to be able to help somebody. Yeah, if they take one nugget away from it, it's to really understand that to take your health seriously, you know, and like I said, the health isn't just physical health; it's also mental health. And also, I love that we touch on our wives, because I do truly love my wife because.
No, hey Michelle, I'm sorry.
He got your back. He got your back. But just to talk about and have conversations about what healthy relationships look like, because I don't think that we talk about it a lot, especially as black men. I just don't think that we talk about happy, healthy relationships. I know when my wife first met my family, all of my family is married for 20, 30 plus years, and I've got 6 aunts, 5 aunts, and my dad, and they've all been married. Their children all married 20 something plus. So it's like being able to be surrounded by that constantly of happy marriages. And she was saying like, hey, this is kind of different. Like I don't see this a lot, you know, outside of your little circle. And I think that's the issue, is that we don't see it a lot.
Exactly.
We don't see it a lot. We don't talk about it a lot.
Right.
So hopefully this podcast will help to open up that discussion, open up the doors of what healthy relationships look like, and maybe that we can talk about it in another series. We might do another podcast series, and you never know what you're gonna get.
Get you a whole panel.
Get you a whole panel discussion. That's good. So yeah, I think that's good.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Number one podcast in the world.
Yes, sir. You heard it here first.
On the way.
First. We gonna get there. Well, that has been this episode of the New Hope Podcast. Kelvin, again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Make sure to click the and tune into some of the other episodes that we have. We're going to be talking about fatherhood, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. So check it out. Make sure to check it out. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.